In this short video, we'll be discussing paraphrasing. We'll discuss what paraphrasing is and also how to do a paraphrase step by step. So let's start with the definition of a paraphrase, or what is paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is basically writing the idea of another person using your own words and keeping the meaning of the original idea. Why is paraphrasing important? First of all, it allows you to use the ideas of another person or expert without copying or plagiarizing. It allows you to use the ideas of experts to support your own opinions. In your essay, in your thesis, you'll be using them a lot in your essays. And it shows that you've understood what you've read. And finally, it's a very common feature of academic writing. You'll have to paraphrase in this class and pretty much any other class where you have any kind of writing assignment. Now we'll talk about two different paraphrasing methods. There are many more, but for the purposes of this class, we'll talk about two common methods. For paraphrasing method 1, we'll go through 3 steps. First, you read the original sentence or the passage several times so that you understand what the sentence or the passage means. Then you cover or hide the original sentence. And then lastly, you try to write the idea of the sentence or passage in your own words. And while you're trying to write the sentence in your own words, you don't look at the original. This method is probably easier if you have some idea of what paraphrasing is already, but if you don't, then paraphrasing method 2 is probably an easier way to start paraphrasing. For paraphrasing method 2, we again follow some steps, but these steps are more broken down here. So we start by reading the original sentence or passage several times so that we understand what the writer is explaining. Then we chunk the sentence into its component parts. We change sentence structure. Some of the ways that we can change sentence structure include changing active voice to passive voice, changing simple sentences to compound sentences, and moving prepositional phrases and adverbials around in the sentence. Next step is we change word forms, for example, nouns to adjectives and adjectives to adverbs. And finally, we can use synonyms and synonymous phrases. So now we'll take a look at a paraphrase being done using method number 2. So for paraphrasing method 2, we'll start with looking at our original sentence. Every thousands of years, students attend Santa Monica College because of its reputation for successfully transferring students to top universities across the United States. So this is the sentence we're going to start with. We're going to paraphrase this sentence. First thing we want to do is chunk the sentence into component parts. So if we break the sentence down by its adverbials, its subjects, its objects, its verbs, adverbial clauses, we can kind of break it down in this way. We start with an adverb every year, and we have the subject of the sentence, the verb, the object, and then we have a reason here in adverbial phrase, because of, and then we have another phrase here that explains where students transfer to or are transferring to. So we can kind of break down the original sentence into parts like this, so we can manage the working with the parts a little bit easier than working with the whole sentence. The next step is to change sentence structure. So we start with the original sentence again. We have our chunks. Now what we're going to do is move around the chunks and change some of these chunks into different phrase or sentence structures. So we've put the because of its reputation for successfully transferring students in the front of the sentence, and we also went from because of using a prepositional phrase and we changed it into adverbial clause with a reason, because it has. It is the subject, has is the verb. We added to top universities across the United States in the same place as the original. Then we added the subject, thousands of students, verb, attend, Santa Monica College, the object, and then we added the adverbial, which was at the front of the sentence. We moved it to the very end. So that's some of the sentence structure changes we made. The next step is to change word forms. So there's the original. This is the version of our sentence after we change sentence structure. Now we're going to change the word forms of some of these words. So two of the words that we can change are reputation and successfully. We have reputation here, it's a noun. We'll change it to an adjective, and we'll change successfully, an adverb, into an adjective, from successfully to successful. But of course we can't just replace these different word forms in these sentences. We need to change the grammar around these words too in order for these two word form to fit correctly into the paraphrase. So we can add it like this, because it is reputable for being successful at transferring students to top universities across the United States. So you can see that we had to change the has a reputation to is reputable. We use a be verb, linking verb, and then we changed for successfully transferring. We used a gerund with a adverb. In the original sentence, we changed that into a gerund be verb plus the adjective, being successful. We added the preposition at and then transferring students. So the rest is the same. The last step is to use synonyms and synonymous phrases throughout our paraphrase. So again, here's our original. This is our paraphrase after we've changed sentence structure and used different word forms. And now we can choose some of the words in here to find synonyms or synonymous phrases. So we can change top universities to highly ranked. We can change across to all over, attend to enroll at, and every year to annually. So you can see that a synonym doesn't need to just be one word. It can be one word that turns into a phrase that means the same thing, or we can go from a phrase that goes to one word that means the same thing. We just need to find words or short phrases that mean the same thing, essentially. So once we use these synonyms, we can put them in and we get this: because it is reputable for being successful at transferring students to highly ranked universities all over the United States. Thousands of students enroll at Santa Monica College annually. So you can see where we put in all the synonyms. Now we'll compare the original to the paraphrase that we just did. So here again is the original, and here is the paraphrase. So you'll notice that the original and the paraphrase are about the same length, and the meaning is the same between these two. Now let's discuss a few things we need to be careful about. First of all, we don't want to only use synonyms. If we want to paraphrase a sentence and we only change one word for one word throughout the sentence, it's actually going to be plagiarism. It's not a good thing. So we need to always do the sentence structure change and also the word form changes before we do synonyms. We don't want to use synonyms for keywords. Some words are important for the meaning of the original, and so when we paraphrase, we don't want to use synonyms for those keywords. In general, we don't want to copy more than 3 words in a row from the original sentence into the paraphrase. And the paraphrase should be about the same length as the original, like our example. And the meaning of the paraphrase must clearly match the meaning of the original idea. It's not paraphrasing if you start with a sentence that means one thing and then you have a paraphrase that means something completely different. The main point of paraphrasing is being able to keep the same meaning of the original sentence, just writing that sentence using your own words, your own sentence structure, your own grammar. And those are just 2 ways that you can use to successfully paraphrase a sentence or even a text.